Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the Bedroom Club podcast. Thanks for joining me. Oh my gosh, I need to stop spinning in this chair. My name's Adana. Thanks for tuning in to episode 2, or maybe this is the first episode that you're listening to. Welcome. Hello. Today, honestly, I just wanted to talk about books. That's the only reason I'm recording. Also, side note, because I feel like my setup is a little bit different for my visual listeners, at least. Trying some different setups, some different lighting. So the first time I was using like my bedside table lamp and I had my glasses on and no makeup. Today we completely switched around and I have my contacts in. I am wearing some makeup, and which honestly it looks, I don't know, hopefully it doesn't look goofy on the camera because I feel like it looks bad or like too, I feel like it's too much for some reason, but you're never too much, queen. Bruh. I feel like every time I go to record, like I'm genuinely fighting demons because I don't have a camera. I'm using my phone, like trying to balance my phone on all these books so that I can have a good setup is just so annoying. In any case, that's on me because I'm choosing not to buy a camera for this. I'm sure one day I will, but I kind of started recording, but then I had to stop to fix my camera because it was out of focus. Everything's fine now, I think. It's still lagging a little bit, I'm not even gonna lie to you, but hopefully it calms down over the course of the pod. Whether we've met or not, I guess. My name's Adana. Nice to meet you. Welcome to the Bedroom Club podcast. And honestly, we're just gonna hop right in. So one of my hobbies is reading. I'm not like someone who is able to read extremely quickly, I wouldn't say. I do feel like I get into reading slumps relatively easily. But one of my New Year's, also, side note, my goal for today, because when I was editing the last video, I couldn't stop thinking, wow, I say the words like and so yeah, so much. Like I just did it again. My use of filler words is bordering on egregious. So I'm gonna try to use those filler words less. If it seems like I'm speaking weird or taking a lot of pauses, it's because I'm actively trying not to say like, or so yeah. With that being said, I wanted to do not so much book reviews, but just a book log. Talk a little bit about books that I've read this year, how I felt about them, and honestly, just a book brain dump. That's what this episode's gonna be. So if you're not into books and you hate me, then you shouldn't maybe not watch this episode. It might not be for you. If you love books, then clock in. We're just going to go book by book and talk a little bit about the book, how I read it, whatever, and my general thoughts on all of them. And hopefully it doesn't take me too long. I'm not like someone who's always reading necessarily, but one of my goals this year is to try to read more. When I was a kid, I was a kid who was reading. English was definitely a strong suit, not my strongest suit, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading, and like language and things like that. So I did grow up reading, but then in middle and high school, that definitely faltered a little bit. I feel like you get so distracted with other things in middle school and high school that, at least for me, reading was definitely on the back burner. Since COVID, I would say. I've been trying to read more. I definitely go through reading slumps easily. It is not hard for me to fall into a slump, but this year I'm trying to be a lot more intentional about reading more consistently. So my goal for this year is to read 30 books, which I know for some people is not a lot, but for me it's a lot because I am really bad with reading. Like, I enjoy it, but if I don't feel like reading, then I won't do it. I would lie and say that I like all genres, but honestly, the truth is I don't necessarily gravitate to all genres. I do take not all, but a lot of recommendations from like Book Talk, and I just want to be my own person when it comes to reading and when it comes to choosing books for me. I am more of a rom-com reader, maybe a little bit of literary fiction, more lighthearted books. I haven't read, and you'll see with my book log, it tends to be more on the lighthearted side, happy ending side, less on the devastating historical fiction, thriller, those sorts of stories. But again, I do want to branch out a little bit more this year. We'll see. I'm open. I'm 100% open. Just a warning that these books are not giving, oh, she's so deep, she's so smart. It's giving, wow, she likes to smile. We're going to go in order of all the books that I read this year. The first book that I read was A Court of Wings and Ruin. I'm not counting it because I started it in December and finished it in January. We're not going to count her. But the first book I actually did read was a novel love story by Ashley Poston. It was really good. I enjoyed it. I read it in a day. It was definitely a really lighthearted story. There are like some more mature themes in the book, but overall a lighthearted story. A novel love story follows Elsie, who loves reading romance books, and she has a book club with her and some really close friends that she met online. And every year they go to this, like, they go on a book retreat basically where all they do is read with each other, talk about books, etc., etc. Sounds like a dream, honestly. Aloriton is a town from one of the books that she loves, and she is driving one day in the middle of a storm to the retreat, where, by the way, she's going to the retreat by herself this year because everybody else is busy. And I think she just got out of a breakup. Yes, I think she had just gotten out of a breakup. But she's driving to the retreat. She's like, something about this seems very familiar, even though I've never been here. And then she realizes that she ends up in Aloriton. And yeah, it kind of just follows her as she falls in love with one of the people in the town. And she gets to know in real life, except it's obviously not real. This is like the element of magical realism or whatever. She ends up in this town. She's getting to know all these characters that she spent years reading about. It's a cute story. I feel like it's really lighthearted. Again, there are some, themes regarding like healing and different relationship dynamics. Again, I haven't read this book in a while, and honestly, I didn't review any of these books before I started recording this episode, so I'm probably going to sound a little lost on some of them. I'm sorry in advance. She recognizes a lot of the people in this town, but the love interest, his name is Anders, she can't place him. Mind you, she spent years reading the series. It's her favorite series. She's reread it many times. The person that is the bartender, the person that owns this cafe, the person that owns this candy shop. She recognizes all of them from the books. She can't place Anders. She can't figure out where he came from. And eventually she learns that he also ended up in Aloriton, and he's like a real world human and not from the town. And he ended up there because his wife was the author of these books. His ex-wife, but she passed away. They fall in love. They end up happily ever after, and they don't stay in Aloriton. They leave and go back to the real world, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, that's kind of a general summary of the book. I liked this book. I think I gave it a 4.5 stars or 4.25 stars. It was fun. I feel like it was a really good first read of the year for me, especially coming out of a very deep reading slump where I hadn't read for like months at the end of 2024. So for me, it was a good book. I know a lot of people, she also wrote The 7-Year Slip, that's the next book that I'm going to read, because I've been reading a lot of kind of sad stories. So instead, we're going to read something lighthearted with The 7-Year Slip. Many people who've read both books say that The 7-Year Slip is a lot better than a novel love story. And I believe The 7-Year Slip came out first, so people were actually kind of disappointed in a novel love story. Again, for me, I had no preconceived notions regarding Ashley Poston or her writing or her books. I didn't have anything to compare it to. I just jumped in with a novel love story, and I really enjoyed it. I feel like it's super lighthearted, really easy read. Like I said, I read it in literally one day, with sleep, by the way. So that's how you know. It was good. I forget the best friend's name, but she has a best friend in this book. I hate the best friend because she is so absent from Elsie's life, in my opinion. And it's like, this is supposed to be her best friend. And mind you, her best friend is like, she's got her own stuff going on. She's newly engaged, so she's like planning her wedding. She's, being with her fiance. But I feel like because she's off doing other things, and I don't think Ashley Poston put enough between the best friend and Elsie for me to believe that they were best friends. Part of the reason why they lost points is because I felt as though the relationships could have been a little bit more amplified. We're supposed to believe that she's lonely and she's hurt, but like she has some friends. And I guess I didn't really believe that she had any friends because they weren't really there for her. Cute read. I would recommend it, especially if you're in a reading slump. It was a super easy read for me. So I loved it. Again, 4.25 stars. Some things that, some gripes, but they were very minor for me. Okay, guys. Sorry, we had a little hiccup. The camera was literally going insane. If you can tell that it's a different cut, or that there's been like a major cut, I tried to put the camera in the same spot. If I didn't, I'm really sorry. But it's because I had to fully, I restarted my phone, restarted my computer. Hopefully now we don't have any more issues for the remainder of the episode. I'm just going to pick up where I left off. The second book that I read this year was The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. If you don't know anything about Suzanne Collins or The Hunger Games, just like a brief overview, The Hunger Games essentially puts a spotlight on the nation of Panem, and over the course of the 3 books, which are The Hunger Games Catching Fire, and then The Hunger Games Mockingjay. The Hunger Games are essentially a system that the capital, which is the rich elite of Panem, inflicted upon the districts, which are the poor, essentially little towns, districts. If you want to translate it to the United States, they would be the states. The capital inflicts the Hunger Games upon the districts year after year. The Hunger Games essentially are killing games, is what they are. Each year, the capital sends 2 tributes per district, 1 boy and 1 girl, to fight in the Hunger Games and fight to the death. There's only 1 victor. They put them all in an arena, and they have to survive, and they have to kill to survive. Each district has their own reaping. They have their own 2 tributes. They have stylists and mentors and things like that. The Hunger Games were inflicted upon the districts about 100 years ago. The districts rebelled against the capital. The rebels lost, and to prevent any sort of rebellion again, the capital, in all its power and greed and disgustingness, the capital hosts the Hunger Games every year to remind them essentially who's in power. They say to remind everybody of their sacrifice, remind them, how horrible it was when everybody was fighting, and when the districts, were rebelling against the capital. Obviously, we know it's really to maintain power. We follow a young Katniss Everdeen as she is not reaped, but she volunteers for the 74th annual Hunger Games in place of her sister, Primrose, who was actually the person who was reaped. Many of us probably know the I volunteer tribute scene from the 74th annual Hunger Games reaping in District 12. So yeah, we follow Katniss as she fights in the 74th annual Hunger Games, as she fights in the 75th, and as they rebel in Mockingjay after the 75th Hunger Games. The Hunger Games universe started with the first book, ended with the third. We got the movies. Everybody thought that was kind of it. And then Suzanne Collins hits us with, wait, I have it with me. Boom! She hits us with The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which follows President Snow, who's the president of Panem. He's the one, mind you, there's so much lore between President Snow and Katniss that is partly revealed in this book, honestly. President Snow is evil. He is evil. He's evil to Katniss. He's just jail time in every single way possible. He thought of every way to make her life a living hell. This book tells us why. Doesn't justify it. He's a horrible person. But this book follows President Snow's story. He's an academy student of Panem, and it follows him as he mentors a young Lucy Greybeard. I think it's the 10th Hunger Games. So the games at this point are very primitive. The tributes are truly treated like animals. I mean, they're treated like animals regardless, but in the original trilogy and in the later games, the strategy for the capital and for the game makers specifically is to humanize the tributes, because when we humanize them, then people care about the games and they keep watching them. This book kind of follows President Snow as he's mentoring in the games, where the game makers realize that they have to humanize the tributes in order for the games to work. But yeah, it follows President Snow. We get an insight to his mind. I Here's my thing with this book. I gave this book 4 stars, I think, when I first read it, and I changed my mind and gave it 5 stars. The reason why I gave it 4 stars is because I watched the movie when it first came out, I think in either early 2024 or late 2023. It starred Tom Blythe. Yes, starred Tom Blythe and Miss Rachel Zegler, whom I also love and have loved since high school because she's an amazing singer and I did theater, so she was my girl. I watched The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes before I read the corresponding book. And in the movie, they humanize President Snow. We'll call him Coriolanus because at this point he's not president. He's literally just a kid. A lot of things that he did, I didn't hate Coriolanus. I hate President Snow, but I didn't hate Coriolanus when I watched the movies. When he became a peacekeeper, I hated him, I would say. But prior to then, I just thought, wow, he's such a victim of the system. You know, his parents died because of the rebellion. Because him and his family, they are supposedly rich. They are rich because they manufactured weapons. After the rebellion, however, the family ended up losing all of their money. His parents died. Now they're living essentially in squalor, but because he is still a capital family, he's still allowed to go to the academy where other capital families' students go. And so he's putting on this facade to all of his classmates like he's still rich. And so that's, in and of itself, is heartbreaking. No kid should have to go through that, even if it's a kid on the other side. You know, like me personally, I'm like, yeah, screw the Capitol. I couldn't care less about the Capitol. But when I think about a young Capitol kid who has no idea what's going on, all he knows is mommy and daddy aren't here anymore and I'm never going to see them again, like, that should hurt us, right? I kept saying to myself, he's a victim of the system. He's a victim of the system. That doesn't make it okay, but like, he's truly a victim. I actually tried to read the book before I watched the movie, but I just ran out of time, I think, and then I ended up putting the book down for like basically a year. And I didn't pick it up again until this year, January. I found out that Coriolanus Snow actually was never a good person. When I was watching the movie and Snow was mentoring Lucy Gray, he did a lot of things that, the way the movie showed it, I thought he was doing out of the kindness of his heart. When he was a mentor and a student at the academy, the movie portrayed him to be not perfect, but a little bit more morally gray. And there's almost like a, dang, he could have been a good person. You meet Coriolanus Snow and you're like, there was hope. There's so much of his inner monologue that is missing from the movies, which is understandable. There's only so much you can do with inner monologue. You know, you don't want to do voiceover city. But when I read the book, I was almost irritated. Well, not even almost. I had some trouble finishing this book because I just wanted to get out of his brain so bad. He's extremely selfish. He does things for his own gain. Everything is about optics with him. He's always wondering how what he's going to do will change how he's perceived, essentially. So all of these things that I thought in the movie he was doing just to be kind to his friend or to his love were actually, for the most part, just to be selfish. He was not a nice person, and I hated being in his brain. And so because I hated being in his brain so much, and it was such a stark contrast from the Coriolanus that I had perceived in the movie, I was like, this book is not good. And then I realized, wait, this book is extremely good, actually. And the problem is that I didn't have all this additional context that I now do have. If all you know about The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes is the movie, then I highly, highly encourage you to read the book, because you will have an extremely different view of Coriolanus, and you will know that maybe he wasn't always evil, but he was not always good. He is not a good person. He doesn't have a good heart, even prior to being a mentor in the games and becoming a peacekeeper and eventually the president of Panem. I read this book. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. At first, I gave it 3 stars, y'all. After I read A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I was really in a Hunger Games mood. And I, of course, read The Hunger Games, the first book in the original trilogy. And I loved it. Gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I feel like it's so subtly devastating. Or maybe it's really not that subtle, but Katniss's voice in the book is so, like, casual and matter of fact, and it's not super flowery or poetic. Like, it's a YA dystopian novel. It's YA and it reads like YA, but the story and the themes are so mature. Katniss's voice in the book is cut and dry, so much so that you almost want to think that it's too YA for you, and then you really think about it, and you realize how deep the story is about dystopia and power and survival and love persisting beyond trials. Very good book. I wish I could be in my kid mind reading it, because I wonder if my kid mind fully got what she was reading, because adult me now knows, but kid me, I don't know if she knew. But yeah, really loved The Hunger Games, the first book. Again, another book that I think you actually, if you only watch the movies and you haven't revisited the books in a long time, I encourage you, I implore you to reread the book. My third read of the year was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, which I listened to on Spotify audiobook, and it was really good. I'd read the book already, so this was like a reread. Jeanette, she also has a very cut and dry and sarcastic way of describing some of the most horrific things I've ever read in my life, actually. And something that really stands out to me about this book, well, that is what stands out to me about this book. Her voice is so... Also, for context, sorry, the audiobook on Spotify, she is the narrator of it, so I'm quite literally hearing, like, listening to her voice recount her childhood. And it was very well written. It made narrative sense to me. Like, there is some, like, flashbacks or hopping around between ages and stuff, but it's never confusing, and it always makes sense for the story, in my opinion. I think to be able to describe such a horrible experience in such an easy to understand way is true talent. Loved. Definitely would recommend. The next book that I read was... I was kind of reading two books at once, but the fifth book I read was One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig, and I was reading that on my Kindle. I was reading that and listening to Dinner for Vampires by Bethany Joy Lenz at the same time. One Dark Window follows, it's like a fantasy story, and it follows a character named Elspeth. This is a duology, and I haven't read the second book yet, so I don't know how the story ends necessarily, but... Wait, what are they doing in this book, guys? Hold on, let me check my Kindle. I now remember that One Dark Window follows a character named Elspeth living in the town of Blunder, where essentially there's an infection that is sometimes passed around. When you get the infection, you are killed. And when Elspeth gets the infection as a young girl, it seems like the infection goes away. So her family does ostracize her, but they don't kill her. But they do send her to live with her aunt and uncle and their kids, her cousins. They think the infection is passed, and what nobody knows is that what stayed with her is the nightmare, which is basically like this voice in her head who gives her extra strength and kind of like takes over her physical body a little bit when she's in times of need. By the end of the book, the nightmare has taken over almost entirely her physical body. Every time she calls on the nightmare for strength, he takes over like a little bit more of her mind and a little bit more of her body. I really like this book. I gave it 3.5 stars. Let's see why. My biggest gripe with this book in particular, I feel that there were missed opportunities for character development, especially when, at least for me, when I was reading this book, it seems like they're broaching on found family trope. You know, you meet these little side characters where you're supposed to like them. You're supposed to find them witty. You're supposed to truly get them. If they wanted to invoke that sort of found family trope, there needed to be more scenes with Elspeth and these other characters and more character development and like just more light overall on some of the side characters. But I did really enjoy it. Like I said, I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. I would recommend it, but I wouldn't recommend it if you're in a reading slump, because while it's really well written, it's just a little bit heavier. So if you need something fun and lighthearted, this is not the book. But if you want to hop into like a little fantasy book, yes, I would recommend. Then while I was like finishing that, I had also finished listening to Dinner for Vampires, which, side note, I didn't know that Spotify audiobook gave you limited hours. I ran out of audiobook hours halfway through listening to Dinner for Vampires by Bethany Joy Lenz, and I was so sick because I couldn't find it anywhere else and I didn't want to buy it, and I only had like a couple, I'm not even kidding, I was like a chapter away from the epilogue. I was literally so close to being done with it. And so I took a really big pause in the middle of reading it or listening to it. Eventually I finished it. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Truly a beautifully written memoir. I already know Bethany Joy Lenz a little bit because of One Tree Hill, which I love that show. Oh, how I love that show. I'm rewatching it right now. It's just everything I need in a show, personally. She's essentially documenting how she became part of a cult, a Christian cult. It was very beautifully written. Again, the audiobook, similar to I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, it was read in her voice, and that brought the story to life so much. I think especially because she's an actress. It just documents her experience in her life as she's growing up on One Tree Hill and eventually falls into a cult. And I think it was a really important read for me personally as a Christian and as someone who's, working on improving my relationship with God and finding godly community. I think I needed a reminder of like how religion can be used to warp other people and take advantage of them. Some people have genuinely horrible and valid experiences with the church, and I think the church wields so much power, and whether they wield it well or not really can affect someone else in a negative way. We need to be careful because this is something that can like completely turn someone's life upside down if we misuse it. It was important for me to be reminded that not everyone who calls themselves a Christian is a good person. And maybe that even extends to me. I make a lot of mistakes in my day-to-day life too. But there are some people who just completely twist everything about Christianity and use it in a way that's harmful to other people. And I needed that reminder of like, this isn't peaches and cream for everyone. So very good read. Definitely would recommend. After that, I read Funny Story by Emily Henry. I loved Funny Story. It was another quick read. I don't think I read it in a day like I did with a novel love story, but it was pretty quick. Like, Emily Henry definitely got me out of like the longest reading slump, like years long of me not really reading. Beach Read was the first book I read after not reading for years. So me and Emily Henry are locked in. I've read all of her books, except for like her older ones. I have read like the other major ones. I've read Beach Read, People We Meet on Vacation, Book Lovers, Funny Story, and the pink one. With, oh my gosh, stop. I'm completely blanking on the name of that book. And it's the one right before Funny Story, I'm pretty sure. It's pink and they're swimming and it's giving found family. Happy Place. Ugh. I can't believe I forgot that. That's so annoying of me. But anyway, and Happy Place. Those are the 5 Emily Henry books I've read. Funny Story I loved. I actually really liked Miles. I feel like out of the MMCs that she's written, Gus is just always going to be on top, I fear. But Miles was really good. Like, really good. He was giving Nick Miller. I loved Miles and Daphne. That story is messy. So Daphne and Peter are dating, and Miles and Petra are dating. And Peter and Petra are childhood best friends. But it's like very much giving like, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about her. Like, we're just friends. And then one day, Peter breaks up the engagement with Daphne to go be with Petra. Petra obviously breaks up with Miles. And then Daphne and Miles are left with no one to live with, broken hearts. And then they decide to move in with each other. But they don't really build a relationship for a really long time. They end up like hanging out one night and then it leads to more hangouts. And then they fall in love. I really enjoyed that book. I would say, I think I gave it 5 out of 5 stars or maybe 4.5. The most recent book I read was Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. Another prequel, follows Hamish Abernathy. Hamish is Katniss and Peeta's District 12 mentor. And we get a story about his games. I mean, honestly, it was heartbreaking. I feel like out of the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, The Hunger Games, first book, and Sunrise on the Reaping, like, I haven't reread Catching Fire or Mockingjay yet, so I don't want to speak on them. But out of those three, Sunrise had to have been the worst. The most difficult story, because he gets everything taken away from him for even trying to spark up a rebellion. And it's like the worst ever. There's also so much lore drop, lots of lore drops, lots of connections, like literally within the first couple chapters of the book, which I know some people say was fan service, but I don't agree, because I feel like they all live in the same place. Like, it's not fan service for us to imagine that Haymitch and Katniss's dad could have been friends. That was bound to happen. The games are so tragic too. The deaths were really graphic, honestly. And I would be shocked. I mean, they should show it in the movie, despite them being gruesome. But I would be surprised, because I think, well, some of them, I'm just like, how would they show that on screen, I guess? But also, I feel like the original Hunger Games were not so graphic. And if anything, they took out some more gruesome details. Like, if I remember correctly, Katniss, like, is deaf in one ear from the games. They never talk about that. Like, there are some details that I think in the original Hunger Games trilogy, they decided to spare with. And I wonder if they're going to do the same thing for Sunrise on the Reaping, because if anything, I feel like Sunrise on the Reaping was more graphic, but I think that the graphicness, I don't know if that's a word, but the graphicness lends to the story in a way that I think that they have to show it, especially for people that watch the movie but don't read the book. So I hope that they keep everything. I don't want to talk about this book anymore. I might start crying. I've read 8 books, and I talked about all 8, so we're good. Those are the 8 books I read this year. I'm really excited to keep reading. I started some like random audiobooks, but I don't know. I'm kind of like in between books right now. I want to read The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, because I'm in search of something a little bit more lighthearted. I did start The Wedding People by... I don't remember who the author is, but I started The Wedding People on audiobook. But it seems like it's going to be a little bit of a deeper book. I have no problem with that, but it's not what I need right now, because I read Sunrise on the Reaping. I've been reading The Hunger Games, One Dark Window, Dinner for Vampires. I'm glad my mom died. Like, even though they're different genres of books, they're sad. And I think The 7-Year Slip is happy. So I'm going to start with that. But yeah, that's it. Oh, I forgot. I have to say my rant topic and my media of the week. I almost ended the episode, y'all. I want to rant about delivery drivers at restaurants. And when I say delivery drivers, I mean like people who come to pick up orders for DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub. I work in an ice cream shop. You might be thinking, oh, just a little ice cream shop. It is just a little ice cream shop, but it's very fast paced. We're a very busy store. So we do get a lot of DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub. Delivery drivers are extremely uncouth. It's to the point where, like, when I encounter a kind and patient driver, it's so rare, and I appreciate it so much, because most of the time they're evil. And let me tell you why. My biggest thing with delivery drivers is much of the time they have absolutely zero manners. They walk up to you, immediately shoving their phone in your face. It's like, hi, what happened to hi, hello, how are you? Bro, I don't care. If I see you walking up with your phone and I know that you're picking up and you shove your phone in my face without saying anything, oh, best believe I'm playing stupid. I'm going to open up that window. I'm going to say, hi, welcome to Reese's. What can I get for you? Even though I know exactly what you want. I know exactly what you want. You're picking up that order. I don't care. You want to come up to me and not say anything to me and just shove your phone in my face? Now you're definitely going to talk to me, actually. And something else, my job, I keep saying windows, but I'm realizing I'm not really explaining what it means, but there's like sliding windows all around the store. That's how we talk to the customers. So it's not like there's a counter, but there's a window blocking you from the customer. Honestly, I feel worse for people who don't have that like window separator, because then they just really be shoving it in your face. Like, oh nah, that's horrific and egregious. And I keep saying egregious. This is at least the 3rd time I've said it in this episode, but I love that word. But they just shove it in your face, and it's like, bruh, what's wrong with you? Like, can you speak to me? I'm still a human being. I don't care if you're picking up an order. You know, you don't have to ask me even how I'm doing. You can just say, hi, I'm picking up for Adana. That's it. That's what you have to say. It's like, you're a grown man. Use your words. And then for us, because our store is windows all around, the customers will take their phones and knock on the window with their phone. Number one way to get me to crash out actually at work is Uber Eats driver banging on the window with their cellular device. The least you can do is say hi to us. Acknowledge that we exist. Don't just shove your phone in my face so I can go, play puppy and go get an order for you. Don't be rude. They're always on FaceTime. Why are delivery drivers always on FaceTime? You come up to the store, you bang on the window with your iPhone, you shove your phone in my face, and now I'm on FaceTime with your random family member that lives in a foreign country. Like, why did you just put me in this situation? That's too much stimulation for any person to endure. And they're also really impatient, I feel like, when they walk up to the window and the order's like not in their hands within 30 seconds. They're like looking all around in the store, like being like, where are they? Where are they? Where are you? I'm getting the order that you asked for. And then if it's not ready and you're just like, hi, I'm so sorry, it's not ready yet. Could you just give us a couple more minutes? You can see them seething. And I get it because like they have other orders that they need to get to. They're trying to drop this off for the person. At the end of the day, my biggest thing is this. The order's not ready. There was this one day in the winter, and yes, people still get ice cream in the winter, so please don't come in my comments asking me that. Yes, they still get ice cream in the winter. It's still very busy. Not as busy as summer, obviously, but it's not like so dead. There was this one day in the winter. It's busy. There's like 4 of us in the store. There's people coming on the drive-thru, people on window, online orders coming through. We're trying to close. This driver comes up, this person picking up an online order. He comes up and he's like, hi, I'm picking up for Jim. Made up that name because I don't remember who it was for. But, hi, I'm picking up for Jim. Kid turns to me and he's like, hey, driver for Jim is here. I'm like, oh, okay, no worries. Could you tell him I just need like 5 more minutes? He tells him, the guy's like, okay, that's fine. No worries. I'm finishing up the order. I'm getting all the toppings on the side that this customer wants. I walk back over, like getting ready to like bag everything for the order and put it away. And the driver comes up again. Mind you, at this point, it's only been 2 minutes. Originally, I asked for 5 minutes. It's only been 2 of those 5 minutes. And he's already back. And I'm like, hi, sorry, I'm just bagging it up. I'm just going to need a couple more minutes. Sorry about that. Because I get it. You came here thinking that the order was going to be ready. The order wasn't ready. I understand. Give me a second. I already asked you for 5 minutes and you said fine. So now it's been 2 minutes and you want to be in my face again? Like, a minute later, some woman comes walking up. I'm assuming it's his wife. Comes walking up to the window. They talk for like a few seconds and then she takes his phone and she comes and she does her whole knocking thing. And I just open the window. This time I don't even say hi. I'm just like, and she's like, hi, we've been waiting for this order for 3 minutes. First of all, I'm not a driver, so there could be something I truly just don't understand about it. And I get waiting for a long time, but 3 minutes? Like, you're saying 3 minutes as if it's so crazy that you're waiting for something for 3 minutes. Like, 3 minutes? Is it really going to kill you? 3 minutes? But what really pissed me off is not even that she said that she was waiting for 3 minutes. And she literally said 3 minutes. Like, she should have lied at that point and been like, we've been waiting for this forever. I asked for 5 minutes and he said okay. So, I'm still in compliance with our deal. Our deal was, I'll be done in 5 minutes if you can wait 5 minutes. He said yes. So I don't know why within the span of 3 minutes it devolved so much that he asked again and then his wife had to come up and ask for it too. I said, yeah, I'm really sorry. I asked for 5 minutes. It's busy in here and it's not ready yet, but it'll be done in a second. I'm literally bagging it up as we speak. Like, I'm bagging it up, putting the receipt on it, and closing the bag. And again, I'm not trying to say like they should just wait around on us. I get it. They're trying to get the order out to the person. They want to be able to move on to another order. But it's so rude sometimes the way, like, why is your wife coming to talk to me right now? First of all, why are y'all door dashing together? I'm about to call DoorDash and report you. Mind you, I asked for 5 minutes. 5 minutes has not passed yet. It would be different if 5 minutes had passed and no one had spoken to him. I didn't give him any updates. But at the 2 minute mark, he asked for it again. And I said, I need a couple more minutes. I'm sorry about that. At the 3 minute mark, now his wife is in my face. Like, hello? 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 My biggest thing is this. The order isn't ready. So now what? Either cancel the order, let someone else pick it up, or wait. I'm not forcing you to stay and pick up this order. But the order's not ready, so I don't know what you want me to do. I'm trying to finish it. Maybe I would finish it faster if you and your wife didn't feel the need to come knock on my window and get my attention on 2 separate occasions. I would have been done 2 minutes earlier. How about that? Right. Exactly. I think that delivery drivers, I get it. That's how they're making their bag. They need to be on the move. I understand that part. I just wish that they would be a little bit more patient and have more manners and actually speak to you when they come pick up the order instead of shoving their phone in your face. If any delivery drivers are out there listening to this, I get it. You're trying to make your bag. Please treat the people at the restaurants with a little bit more respect. Okay, last thing, media of the week. My book is Sunrise on the Reaping. I don't remember what I said last time. Did I say Sunrise on the Reaping? I hope I didn't. Hey guys, editing Adana here. So I of course have now edited and released episode 1 of the pod, and it turns out that I did say Sunrise on the Reaping for the media of the week last week, and I completely forgot. So I'm really sorry I said the same media of the week twice. I'm gonna do a better job with keeping track of what media I'm saying, so I'm not repeating it. So I'll keep a log of what I've given you guys. With that being said, let's go ahead and replace Sunrise on the Reaping with I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, since I thought that's what I said in the first one. Let's just do a little switcheroo. It's a great book. I talked about it in this video already, or in this episode, so love you guys. And let's get back to the episode. I didn't know because I said I'm glad my mom died. Yes. So this time my book is Sunrise on the Reaping because I just finished that. Again, I talked about it already because this entire episode was about books, but it really was a wonderful book. For my TV show and or movie, I want to say Grey's Anatomy. And I actually feel like a little bit of a hypocrite offering Grey's Anatomy as my media of the week because I actually haven't really been watching it. I have watched it before though, up to season 14, but then they lost me. After the fire and Stephanie left, I didn't care. But before then, I was locked in. I've been watching a lot of clips on my For You page, and I'm just like, wow, this show is so good. Like, it gets out of hand at times, but overall, it really is a really good show. You should start from the beginning, actually, because you need to get the lore. And to get the lore, you got to start from the beginning. Also, the earlier seasons are better anyway. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sorry if this episode was like a little weird and janky. One, I feel like the sun was changing so much that I could not keep up with the lighting. I also had to restart my camera so many times, which is so annoying. And my contacts are bothering me. That's why I keep squinting like this. If you notice that I was squinting, that's why. And I'm tired. My stomach keeps growling. I'm in a mood. No, I'm kidding. But this was fun. Thank you so much for tuning in. It was lit. Okay, that was stupid. I'm sorry, but it was fun. Thank you for tuning in. I hope that you tune in again. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. For my audio listeners, I just blew a kiss into the camera. Okay, actually though, see you guys later. Bye.